This week on Commercial Real Estate Secrets, we are talking the secret to bringing people back to the office, how we're doing it, what changes have happened since the global pandemic, and what the future holds. This is a great episode. We'll see you inside. This week's listener of the week is Marianne 3. Marianne, thank you so much for leaving us a 5-star review. And for those of you listening, if you leave us a 5-star review below, you might be next week's listener of the week. Week. This week on Commercial Real Estate Secrets, we have Tom Larance. Tom is the founder of the Experience Group. Tom, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I'm excited.
As are we. You have a very impressive background in commercial real estate.
Thank
Can
you.
you tell the listeners who you are, what you do, and how you got here?
Yes, thank you. As you said, I'm Tom Larance. I'm the founder of the Experience Group. I started my first company in 2001, which was Corporate Concierge. And in that, we focused on providing amenities to the commercial real estate industry, focusing on the office sector across the United States, working for great partners like Jones Lang LaSalle, CB, Cushman, etc. And after a few years in the industry, I branched out into the retail sector, working for, at the time, General Growth Properties, now Brookfield, and Macerich, and providing different concierge and experience services for those companies on the retail side. Then we found our way into the hospitality world with the hotel side in working with brands like Hyatt and Hilton. And then some, not as large, but in some residential complexes. In Chicago, we worked for Waterton and some of their upscale properties providing concierge and amenity management services. I ran that company through 2019 when my firm was acquired by JLL, and I was brought on to create their in-house experience management platform called XM by JLL. Was a fantastic experience. I was there for a little over, I guess it was about 4 years, and then found myself wanting to work on my own again. And then just this year, I founded the Experience Group. So brought some of the original staff from Corporate Concierge Service back. I say I've got the dream team. They're all super experts in their particular areas, and we're back on the market again.
So, for someone who has never heard of the Experience Group,
Right.
what do you do in the commercial real estate space?
Right. Our main focus is knowing, studying, and learning what is on trend, specifically now with this post-pandemic and hybrid workforce. And owners and management companies are looking at how to manage this hybrid workforce. What is the best source and what is the best ideas to bring people back to the office? And what we say that we do, and we do this in a variety of different ways, but what we say our goal is to create a destination-worthy environment, a destination-worthy asset. So we want to create the living room or the heart of the building, the heart of the shopping center, the heart of the hotel, and make it a place where people truly want to be. We see a lot of statistics about how employees of companies are far more productive when there is a sense of community and a sense of camaraderie, and just how during the pandemic we missed just those spontaneous conversations around the office, around the water cooler, around the coffee, around lunch. And but now that people can really work from home, what is it that is important, and why is it important to bring people back? And what are we doing to create these really cool spaces that people want to be in? And that's what we do. And whether that's a tenant lounge, which includes fitness. Fitness is a little different right now than pre-pandemic. We're moving a little bit more towards wellness. We're seeing things like red light therapy versus people actually getting on the treadmill. They're still getting and doing a workout, but now that people are in the building on this hybrid schedule, they're using the fitness center in a different capacity than what they did. And so again, like we're seeing the infrared saunas, we're seeing cold plunges, which is popping up. It's a hot thing right now, and we're seeing those types of services. Some of these med spas. We've actually are doing a lot of these med spa services, including Botox in the spaces. It's cool. So we are studying those differences, and we're bringing that to the table for our managers and our owners, our clients, about what is on trend, as we are always looking at what is the best way to provide an environment that's destination worthy, where our tenants and employees want to be. And it's a super cool opportunity, and we're lucky to be in this environment, really creating new spaces. It's fun, it's cool.
You know, we are in a world that seems to be changing every day, every minute, every hour. How do you combat this society where our desires are, right? Like suddenly we're in a cold plunge world. How do you keep up with the trends as they're so quickly changing in something like a commercial space where ideally you would want to have it for as long as possible to maximize the value?
Sure, absolutely. I think that the things, even though we say that they're on trend right now, I think they're things that are going to be here for a while. And, part of what I said, in starting the experience group, I've created the dream team again. And I have Jessica Schmidt on my team, who is our creative director, and she researches and studies. And so it's not a trend that's going to happen for a quarter or, half the year. It's something, why are people interested in these wellness services? And we have research that backs up, there was a recent poll that said about what is one of the biggest challenges that people are facing coming out of the pandemic, post-pandemic, what have you. And they're really interested in wellness and bringing themselves and having that sense of community and camaraderie. And what we see with things, while the cold plunge is somewhat new for our office environment, I think it's going to be here for quite some time. And I'm actually seeing some of the fitness components. We're working with a client right now in Chicago that is converting a lot of the physical, the workout space into wellness spaces. And we're already interviewing, literally building spaces for people to come to versus the physical workout, to have the red light therapy, to have whatever this is that they're looking to better themselves on a wellness, also on a mental wellness journey. And we're seeing that is incredibly important for people as they come back to the office, because we spend a lot of time alone, and now we crave being back together.
What other trends are you seeing coming out of this pandemic that people are craving in the workspace?
Well, I would say that sort of the sweet spot is when a building has the resources to dedicate the right amount of space to a tenant lounge that includes maybe in the morning a barista and some grab and go. Like I said, the fitness wellness element, a combination of a community manager that oversees all of these things, and conference spaces that with catering. And then food and beverage is just so hot right now, and has been for some time. And at one of our accounts, they have a bar that opens up in at 3:00, closes at 7. This is not intended to be your local Cheers. It closes down at 7:00. This is the place to come and have some social interaction with your colleagues, and it is so popular. And we do provide
Wow.
food and snacks. And it's fascinating how our provider there really also does research on who is in the building. And this building in particular has a lot of millennials. I've never seen more avocado toast or avocado prepared in different ways than I have seen at this place. But also these craft cocktails that are really just fascinating. I mean, it really is creating an experience. And that is sort of the sweet
Yeah.
spot for our owners. But we're also talking to folks in the suburban markets. I was recently in Boston talking to some brokers about what type of, if we don't have the space or the budget for this amazing tenant lounge, what are some of the things that we can do? And some of our research showed in this particular market how people are really bringing their pets to the office. Mostly their dogs are bringing the pets to the office. And we are now took that conversation and we are really talking to them about doing pet care, mobile
Yeah.
pet care. We're looking at designing an outdoor pet facility where people can take a break and take their animals. It's enclosed, so it's a safe space. But it's a lot of opportunity for the dogs to do it's basically a dog park that is contained for the number of people that are bringing their animals to the office. I mean, we've also been working in conjunction with some local DMVs, some mobile DMVs, so you can renew your driver's license right on the property, right at work, versus having to go down to your local DMV space. It's
Wow.
so cool. I mean, it's a simple thing, right? It's nothing, it's not ingenious, but taking that service to where people are versus them having to go there is such a cool twist. And I can't tell you how popular. Well, you can imagine. I mean, everyone just loves that. They just love it.
Well, now as we talk about it, it's almost like the opportunities are limitless. What you can do to enhance the experience in a building, we don't even know, because maybe it's like you said, like who would have thought putting a DNV kiosk in an office building would be such an attractive
Uh,
feature, and it is.
It is. And now we're taking that and we're booking it at all the different properties because it's so popular. Everybody wants that. It's as things continue to change and as technology continues to be able to provide us these services where before it didn't exist. I mean, we're in such a creative space that technology is allowing us to be in. It's fantastic.
I think about pre-pandemic. I had a friend lives in LA, and he goes
Hmm.
to the WeWork, and his
Sure.
selling points to the WeWork were there's kombucha on draft, and
That's
there's
right.
cold brew, and there's a printer. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I got cold brew at home, I have a printer, but these amenities within this space created this experience where he could justify paying to go to the office. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. This is what you do for a living. It's so interesting how it's like you said, as people, we crave community,
That's right.
and the experience group creates the heart of the community
That's right.
in order to elevate the real estate in general.
Absolutely correct. And there's research that backs up that people really look at what are their amenities, what is the building offering, why do I want to be here versus at another property, versus when I do have a printer and kombucha at home, why am I going to be here? And we're creating the space, what I call, and a lot of people, whether it's a WeWork or your typical office space, people want to get out of their home again and they want to collaborate with their other colleagues. They want to feel a part of something. Some people, it all depends, also on a person's home work environment. Not everyone has a home office. I'm lucky enough to have a home office here that we can talk about. But some people are working from the kitchen counter and from the dining room table, and it's such a people are finding it is a pleasure and a joy to come back and interact with their colleagues in person and not remotely. And we want to enhance that experience. We really want to create this make the spaces, make the asset a destination that is commute worthy. And really, it's the heart and the living room of the office.
Do you have any examples or sample situations that stand out to you where it was just a grand slam in terms of adding these environments to a property?
I think that there are a couple of examples. I was working on a project at the Aon Center in Chicago, and I just think that ownership had knocked it out of the ballpark. They do these things so well. And that particular lounge is called the Cloud Level. It's on the 70th floor of the building. The views are spectacular. The appointments are amazing. It's just knocked out of the ballpark. It's absolutely stunning. Actually, it's also in Chicago, same ownership, when they redeveloped the asset called the Old Post Office, and just an incredible redevelopment of a historic sort of property that had been abandoned for 20 plus years. It just an incredible job what the amenities and how ownership has amenitized that particular property. And then we worked on a project in Boston where it was actually a full consulting opportunity where the ownership was redoing the mezzanine level, putting a new food provider in the lobby, sort of a grab and go coffee, food grab and go kind of a thing, which then led up to the mezzanine level. And we consulted on with a partner of ours on the design, everything and the fixtures, everything up to finally turning that over to the building architect for the final stamp on it. It was an incredible, incredible project, and one that I think is really driving new traffic for that asset.
Very cool. So, something we're seeing, and I'm sure you hear about this all day, we have these office buildings in America, all these office buildings that were built in the 70s and the 80s. And now we have the office buildings that are being built now. And calling a spade, nobody wants to be in the old buildings. There's smaller windows, less accessible, less sexy, less amenity opportunities. Whereas these new gorgeous office buildings are floor to ceiling
Right. That's
windows. Right. Do you feel like, what do you feel like the future of these buildings built in the 70s and 80s holds? Do you think it's amenitizing it like you do? Do you think it's tearing them down? Balance of the two? I'm curious as to your thoughts.
It's interesting. I was just at a seminar yesterday in Chicago, and they were talking about this, and there was some representation from the city, and they were talking about how in some specific areas it makes sense to do office conversion to residential. Not in all, but when it makes sense, they're seriously looking at this. They're doing something different in what's called the LaSalle corridor, where they are doing some office conversion to residential. And it's also, but the main message that I heard from that was, we have really cool buildings. Some of them are aging, it's true, but better to repurpose when possible, but also to really upgrade also when possible. And this seminar took place at 1 East Wacker. It's an AmTrust property, and they just redid an entire floor that is absolutely stunning. It has everything you'd want in a tenant lounge, and that is an example of perhaps one of those. It's not a brand new building, but they have redone, really thought through in a really great way how to revitalize that particular office building with, the lobby is different now, and they have this beautiful tenant lounge. I think there's room for every possible thought. And I think that what I'm seeing is people really being thoughtful in what is right for this asset. And you're right, the new buildings are just incredible as well. I mean, you look at the New York market now, where amenities in the office buildings were very rare. And now One Vanderbilt, just out of the ground, has, is completely amenitized. It's unbelievable. So I do think it's a mix. I think it's a mix of things. I think that we're going to continue to see that. And I think that it's going to be fascinating also to watch the Chicago downtown market as the JP Morgan Chase Bank building is going to be revamped, and how Google is also moving back to the central business district, and they're redoing that building, as you said, from, it's an older building and they're completely remodeling it. So I think it's a combination.
I think about Lifetime Fitness and how they have childcare in the Lifetime Fitness and how much of a driver that can be. Well, I mean, I know the Lifetime Fitness here in Denver, it's got a wait list. It's you can't even
Wow.
show up anymore. Yeah, it's crazy. And
Wow.
it's very interesting. It's that same concept of bringing everything. It's like a mixed use world now. It's no longer
That's
this
right.
is your office building, this is your bar. It's
That's right. And
here's a community
that's
that
right.
you're
And we're
building.
seeing this also on the retail side, where there is the shopping complex, there is the hotel that's also on property, residential on property, and even office. We're seeing this. And, I just think it's such an exciting time in all of these arenas to figure out what is the best use case for every particular asset. And it's not, one size does not fit all. That is for sure.
Hmm. Okay, not to put my landlord hat on, but when you when you amenitize a building, hypothetically, does that expense get passed to the tenant and therefore you can justify it to the landlord?
Oftentimes it can be an operating expense. Sometimes it all depends on how the landlord chooses to create that, but it can certainly be, and part of operating that space is, generally speaking, an operating expense, and it can be a capital expenditure. It just,
Oh yeah.
it depends on how the ownership sets that up.
Uh, I love commercial real estate because it is still the Wild West,
It is the
and
Wild West.
and I've heard stories about owners in New York where the building might be 80,000 square feet, but the lease says the building's 85,000 square feet, and it's like, but if somebody perceives a building one way and they own it, uh, party on. So no,
Party on.
it's fascinating what you do, specifically given, like I said, we're just starting to see the opportunities that it holds for owners, tenants, uh, and communities in general.
I think so.
Tom, what makes you happy with what you do in commercial real estate every day?
Gosh, I mean, I think we've touched base on that. To me, the thing that is just that makes me happy, that I find so exciting, is that everything is constantly changing. We're in a different world now, and it is exciting to be a part of the change that's happening. It's so cool to research and to bring to the table and help managers and ownership figure out what is the right move, what is the next thing, what is the cool thing for your particular asset, and consulting in a way, and then bringing those spaces to life. It's 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 been an absolute pleasure and joy to have a career in this industry. It's been so fun, and we've evolved. I mean, I started this in 2001 when we were concierge in an office building, to then starting with different technologies and bringing on, CRMs, and then going from the concierge in the lobby to the community manager that runs an entire space for the building, and bringing in, working with the creative people that I have on staff to really bring the cool stuff to ownership. And it just, it's so fulfilling. It's just been a fantastic career choice for me. And working with the people that I get to work with is also incredible.
Sounds like every day is different for you.
Yes, yes. That's true. I hadn't really thought of it in that way, but that's true. And that's part of the plus. You're absolutely right.
Tom, we really appreciate having you on the show. Your story and line of work is really unique. I talk to people all day, every day about everything commercial real estate. I was really excited to have you on the show because of, like I said, how unique your experience is in this industry. Where can the listeners find you, follow you, contact you? We've got a lot of owners who listen to this podcast. What's the best way to find you?
Sure. We are at txg.live is our website. I'm on LinkedIn. We have Instagram. We're out there. Happy to connect in any way that works. That would be terrific. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll put all your info in the show notes. So anybody who's listening, stare at your screen and you can connect. Tom, thank you for your time today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
You're over in the East Coast, and
yes,
we're wrapping up a Friday. And for everybody listening, we'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to Commercial Real Estate Secrets. If you have found our podcast to be valuable, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite streaming platforms, and make sure to follow us on social media at Aviva Real Estate. For brokerage services or to get in touch with us, head over to thewarehousehotline.com and submit a contact form. My name is Aviva. This is Commercial Real Estate Secrets. We'll see you next week.